नमस्ते, हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया। I am JVM Dr. Meenakshi, Assistant Professor in Department of Shalakya Tantra, Faculty of Ayurvedic Science, Jyoti Vidyapeeth University. Today in this session, we will discuss the allergic conjunctivitis part 2. In the earlier session, we have discussed the simple allergic conjunctivitis and vernal keratoconjunctivitis. In this session, we will discuss the atopic keratoconjunctivitis, which is called the AKC. It can be thought of an adult equivalent of vernal keratoconjunctivitis and is often associated with atopic dermatitis. Most of the patients are young atopic adults with male predominance. And the symptoms of atopic keratoconjunctivitis: itching, soreness, dry sensation, mucoid discharge, photophobia, or blurred vision. Here is an image of the atopic keratoconjunctivitis. They are severe ocular allergic disease, typically also involving lids or other non-ocular structures, and usually perennial but can worsen in winter months, often accompanied by atopic dermatitis. Then the signs of the atopic keratoconjunctivitis: the lid margins are chronically inflamed with rounded posterior borders, and tarsal conjunctiva has a milky appearance. There are a very fine papillae, hyperemia, and scarring with shrinkage. The cornea may show punctate epithelial keratitis, and often more severe in lower half. There may also occur corneal vascularization, thinning, and plaques. Then clinical course: like the dermatitis with which it is associated, AKC has a protracted course with exacerbations and remissions, and like vernal keratoconjunctivitis, it tends to become inactive when the patient reaches the fifth decade. Then the treatment associations may be keratoconus and atopic cataract, and treatment is often frustrating. The treat facial eczema and lid margin disease. Sodium chromoglycate drops, steroids, and tear supplements may be helpful for conjunctival lesions. The next type of allergic conjunctivitis is the giant papillary conjunctivitis. It is the inflammation of conjunctiva with formation of very large size papillae. Then the etiology of giant papillary conjunctivitis: it is a localized allergic response to a physically rough or deposited surface. Contact lenses, prostheses, left out nylon sutures. Probably it is a sensitivity reaction to components of the plastic leached out by the action of tears. And symptoms of giant papillary conjunctivitis are itching, stringy discharge, and reduced wearing time of contact lens or prosthetic shell. Is an image of giant papillary conjunctivitis not a true ocular allergic reaction, as SAC, KC, and VKC, caused by the repeated mechanical irritation and aggravated by concomitant allergy. So we have discussed the symptoms: itching, stringy discharge, reduced wear time of contact lens or prosthetic cell. Then the signs of the giant papillary conjunctivitis, or GPCR: the papillary hypertrophy 1 mm in diameter of the upper tarsal conjunctiva, similar to that seen in the palpable form of VKC, with a hyperemia, are the main signs. Then the treatment of the giant papillary conjunctivitis: the offending cause should be removed after discontinuation of the contact lenses or artificial eye, or removal of nylon sutures. The papilla resolve over a period of 1 month. And then the disodium chromoglycate is known to relieve the symptoms and enhance the rate of resolution. Steroids are not of much use in this condition. The next type of allergic conjunctivitis is the flectanular keratoconjunctivitis. The flectanular keratoconjunctivitis is a characteristic Nodular affection occurring as an allergic response of the conjunctival and corneal epithelium to some endogenous allergens to which they have become sensitized. Flectalar conjunctivitis is of worldwide distribution, however, its incidence is higher in developing countries. The etiology of flectalar conjunctivitis it is believed to be a delayed hypersensitivity type 4 cell-mediated response to endogenous microbial proteins and then for causative allergens. Causative allergens are tuberculous proteins were considered previously as the most common cause. Staphylococcus proteins are now thought to account for most of the cases. Other allergens may be proteins of Moraxella, Xenophilia bacillus, and certain parasites like worm infestation. Then the predisposing factors, age, peak age group is 3 to 15 years, sex incidence is higher in girls than boys. Then undernourishment, disease is more common in undernourished children. And living conditions, overcrowded and unhygienic conditions predisposed to this flectalar keratoconjunctivitis. Then season, it occurs in all climates and incidence is high in spring and summer seasons. Then the pathology of the flectalar keratoconjunctivitis. First is the stage of nodule formation. In this stage, there occurs exudation and infiltration of leukocytes into the deeper layers of conjunctiva, leading to a nodule formation. The central cells are polymorphonuclear and peripheral cells are lymphocytes. The neighboring blood vessels dilate and their endothelium proliferates. The second stage is the stage of ulceration. Later on, necrosis occurs at the apex of the nodule and an ulcer is formed. Leukocytic infiltration increases with plasma cells and mast cells. Next stage is the stage of granulation. Eventually, the floor of the ulcer becomes covered by granulation tissue. Fourth stage is the stage of healing. Healing occurs usually with the minimal scarring. Then the clinical picture of the vernal keratoconjunctivitis. The symptoms in simple flectalar conjunctivitis are few, like mild discomfort in the eye, irritation, and reflex watering. However, usually there is associated mucopollulant conjunctivitis due to secondary bilateral bacterial infection. The signs of flectalar conjunctivitis. The flectalar conjunctivitis can be present in three forms: the simple, necrotizing, and miliary form. The simple flectalar conjunctivitis is the most common seen variety. It is characterized by the presence of typical pinkish white nodules surrounded by hyperemia on the bulbar conjunctiva, usually near the limbus. Most of the times there is solitary nodule, but at times there may be two nodules. In a few days, the nodule ulcerates at apex, which later on gets epithelialized, and rest of the conjunctiva is normal. Second form is the necrotizing flectalar conjunctivitis is characterized by the presence of a very large flecton with necrosis and ulceration leading to a severe pustular conjunctivitis. Third form is the miliary flectalar keratoconjunctivitis, which is characterized by the presence of multiple flectons, which may be arranged haphazardly or in the form of a ring around the limbus and may even form a ring ulcer. Here is an image of the flectalar conjunctivitis where you can see an flecton surrounding which you can see the blood vessels. Rest part of the flectalar conjunctivitis we will discuss in the next session. Thank you so much. This session is powered by digital version 2.0 Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box. I will resolve it soon. Thank you so much. Where the retina ends. Here the retina is firmly attached both to the vitreous and the choroid. The pars plana extends fairly from the orbicula. Then the microscopic structure. Retina consists of three types of cells and the synapses arranged in the following 10 layers. First layer is the pigment epithelium or the retinal pigment epithelium. It is the outermost layer of retina. It consists of the single layer of cells containing pigment, and it is firmly adherent to the underlying basal lamina, which is called the Bruch's membrane of the choroid. And there's a term called subretinal space. It is a potential space between the retinal pigment epithelium and the neurosensory retina. There's the anatomy of retina. Then layers of second layer is the layer of rods and cones. Rods and cones transform light energy into the nerve impulses. Rods contain photosensitive substance rhodopsin, whereas the cones contain photosensitive substance iodopsin. The cone cells are helpful in photoptic vision and rod cells in scotopic vision. The cones are about 120 6.5 million, and rods are about 120 millions. The rods, they're the cylindrical photoreceptors found in the greatest concentration on the edges of the retina. Most common type of receptor allow us to see in low light and provide for peripheral vision. The cones, they are the conical photoreceptors found in greatest concentration near the center of the retina. There are three varieties of cones, each more sensitive to a particular wavelength of light. Blue, green, and red allow for visual acuity and color vision. The external limiting membrane. Fenestrated membrane extending from the oroserato up to the edge of optic disc, and the process of rods and cones pass through it. Next layer is the outer nuclear layer. It made up of the nuclei of the rods and cones. The cones nuclei have the dimension 6 to 7 micrometer, and rod nuclei is 5.5 micrometer. These nuclei lie in a single layer next to the external limiting membrane. Rod nuclei form the bulk of this layer except that cone dominated foveal region. Next layer, the fifth layer is the outer plexiform layer. This layer is made of synapses between the rods, spherules, and cone pedicles with the dendrites of bipolar cells. The bipolar cells are the first order neurons of visual pathway. The next sixth layer is the inner nuclear layer. It is very thin and is similar to the outer nuclear layer. It consists of various type of cells like bipolar cells, horizontal cells, amacrine cells, Mueller cells, central retinal vessels, the glial cells, and this layer disappears at fovea. Next, seventh layer is the inner plexiform layer. It consists of the synapse between bipolar cell and dendrites of ganglion cell. It is absent at fovea. The eighth layer is the ganglion cell layer. It mainly contains the cell bodies of ganglion cells, which are the second order neurons of visual pathway. There are two types of ganglion cells, midget ganglion cell and postsynaptic ganglion cells. The midget ganglion cells are present in macro region with the dendrite of each such cell synapses with the axon of single bipolar cell. The polysynaptic ganglion cells lie predominantly in peripheral retina, and each cell may synapse with up to 100 bipolar cells. The ninth layer is a nerve fiber layer, the stratum opticum, which consists of the axons of the ganglion cells which pass through the lamina cribrosa to form the optic nerve. The next layer is the tenth layer, the internal limiting membrane. It is the innermost layer and it separates the retina from vitreous. It is formed by the union of terminal extensions of the Mueller's fibers and is essentially a basement membrane. The next slide is of the blood supply of the retina. The outer four layers of retina is supplied by the choriocapillaries, and the inner six layers they get this supply from the central retinal artery, which is a branch of the ophthalmic artery. The outer plexiform layer gets partly by the both the above arteries. The fovea is avascular and is mainly supplied by choriocapillaries. The inner portion of retina is perfused by branches of the central retinal artery. In 30% of eyes, a cilioretinal artery branching from the ciliary circulation supplies part of inner retina, mainly the macular region. The retinal blood vessels, mainly the inner blood retinal barrier. This physiological barrier is due to the single layer of non-fenestrated endothelial cells, whose tight junctions are impervious to tracer substances such as fluorescein. So here completes our anatomy of retina. Thank you so much. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box. I will resolve it soon.